In my hands, I hold a scale. And when I step onto the scale, the numbers spin around and around and give me a number. And in my case, 100. But what does this number really mean? According to weight classification tables, in relation to my height, I'm normal, or ideal weight for my height. Okay? But my body has been subjected to much more than just these medicalized terms according to these weight tables. I've been questioned as being anorexic or sick-looking. And predominantly, I'm the skinny bitch. And in my personal encounter with this skinny bitch phenomena, it comes pretty much in one generalized form. It's either I'm on a diet and everybody wants to know what it is, and they're just waiting for me to give them this magic pill and they will be skinny like me. And when I tell them actually I'm not, everything in moderation, I get this snotty look, as if I'm lying. So I'm a liar. Or it comes in a different form. Or if they don't believe me, they think, oh, you're one of those girls who can eat everything she wants and doesn't gain a pound. And then there's a sense of heaviness between me and this person, this resentment. I don't feel good about that. And what was once just a number from a scale has now characterized myself as a person and my health. Critical theorists call this weight-based discrimination. And while weight-based discrimination is seen at all shapes and sizes, one particular group of individuals, those who tip over the normal category, have been particular subjects of this form of discrimination. Yep, I'm talking about the fat people. And according to the literature, not only does the general population, but professionals working to help these individuals, whether it be dietitians, physicians, physiotherapists, they have preconceived notions of them based completely on their body. For instance, fat people are gluttonous. Fat people are lazy. Fat people are inactive. A fat child is child abuse, and a fat parent is a poor role model. And again and again and again, I don't know how many times I've read this, but the fat citizen is a burden to our straining healthcare system. And while what I'm presenting to you may not shock you, what shocks me is how do we go from being raised to not judge a book by its cover, but as mature adults and healthcare professionals, we do it on a daily basis. And why? Because of fear. And what feeds this fear is the overstated and misrepresentation of the scientific claims underlying weight as a health indicator. And so when we see claims like risk of death increases with weight, or in other words, the fatter you are, the more likely you are to die, it feeds onto this fear, and we somehow attach certainty to whatever we are reading. But the evidence behind these scientific claims are actually quite conflicting. Let's take a look at this study for one moment. If we assess the red line as a barometer of health, so anybody below this red line has a lower risk of death compared to normal weight people, the ideal, and anybody above has an increased risk of death. I bring your attention to the lower part of the graph. Our overweight and obese individuals actually have a reduced risk of death than those who are of normal weight. But as citizens, we want to not only live long, we want to live healthy. And so this may not intrigue us. The second claim, that fat people are unhealthy, grabs our attention. Well, they can live long, but they're not healthy. And one way that science objectifies health is by looking at some key indicators that tell us something about your risk of death. Key indicators such as blood pressure, your cholesterol level, triglycerides, inflammation, I'm sounding like a textbook, I know, insulin, and your glucose level. And all of these indicators packaged into one give us some sort of indication of our risk of heart disease and diabetes, the burdens of our healthcare system. And so what this study wanted to look at and see is to see whether or not these package of indicators are different in those who are fat and those who are not. And this is what they saw. So in the normal weight individuals, yes, most of them had a healthy profile. So their blood glucose and all that stuff that I talked about that was kind of boring, actually it was fine. But actually 25% of the normal weight individuals actually had abnormal indicators, meaning that they would be at increased risk of disease. And this is about, according to the most recent BMI prevalence of normal weight people, this is about 1.5 million individuals that are abnormal. And so they looked at overweight. Over 50% of the overweight individuals had metabolic health. And what about our obese, the real fat people? 1/3 were metabolically healthy. That's 2.5 million people. And while we can't ignore that there's more of these abnormal metabolic individuals at a higher weight, we tend to ignore the fact that at every size we can see health. And it's this ignorance that brings fire and acceptability to weight-based discrimination. And the consequences of this are not small, they're very severe. Body dissatisfaction, lower self-esteem, impaired nutrition intake. Looks like this. We will do anything to get to this thin ideal. Eating less, vomiting, smoking more cigarettes. Is this health promotion? And so we need to wake up. As a society, we need to wake up and see weight-based discrimination as a legitimate concern. We need to think forward and critically analyze the information we're getting regarding weight as an indicator of health. And most importantly, as a society, we need to shift the focus away from striving for this thin ideal, this normality. No one's normal. But this health ideal. And this health ideal looks and feels different for each and every one of us. And so, what does this number really mean on this scale? With scientific certainty in light, it's gravity's pull on your body.